Okay, so today we are going to be going over topic 11, lesson 4. We are skipping lesson 2 and lesson 3. Our objective for today, today I will cross simplify. Today we are going to begin multiplying two fractions. Yesterday and the day before, we were multiplying a fraction times a whole number. But today we're going to focus on this strategy called cross simplifying. And cross simplifying is very important because it helps us simplify factors before calculating a product. So this will make multiplication easier. And what do I mean by that? Well, let me show you an example of cross simplifying. So 3/4 times 5/6. When you cross simplify, okay, the word cross simplify, I can use the word to help me understand what it is. So I know to simplify means to reduce, right? We're making a number smaller by dividing it by a factor. That's what we do when we simplify, and you're all experts in that. Cross. So that means we're going to be simplifying across. How does that look like? Well, basically what you do is that you look at the factors across from each other, the numbers, excuse me, across from each other. So here, the 4 and the 5, the numerator and the denominator from the opposite sides, we will look at first. Do they have a factor in common? They don't. So I leave it alone. I don't simplify. I don't divide anything for these pairs of for this pair of numbers. Now I'm going to look at 3 and 6. 3 and 6 actually do have a factor in common, correct? 3 and 6 have 3 in common. Therefore, I divide 3 by 3, and that turns into a 1. 6 divided by 3 turns into a 2. And I rewrite this as a 4th times 5/2. So this is what cross simplifying looks like, but let's go over it step by step so that you're not confused. Let me show you an example. I'm thinking, so don't judge me. 2/9 times 3/10. Our first step in cross simplifying is to circle. I would circle a pair of opposite numerators and denominators. So basically what you're doing is circling the first pair of opposite numerators and denominators. There are two pairs. It doesn't matter where you begin. So let's look at 2 and 10 first. I'm circling them, you don't have to. I'm ignoring the 9 and the 3, and I'm going to try and reduce 2 and 10. So our second step is identify a common factor. Do they both have a common factor? They do. 2. So what I do, step 3, is to cross out I cross out 2 and 10 because they both have a factor in common. 2 will be simplified, will be divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I write a 1 next to the 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Therefore, I write a number 5. Am I done? No, because I have only done the first pair of opposite numerators and denominators. So my fourth step is to repeat. And I'll do it in a different color so you can see. Do 3 and 9 have a common factor? They do. 3. So I cross out 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So now I have all these new numbers. I have all these new numbers that I am going to, that are going to help me move on to step 5. Sorry, y'all. My phone was telling me that it needs to be charged. Step 5 is to rewrite. So then I rewrite everything, this jumbled mess, as a third, right? 1 over 3 times 1 over 5. Let me do another example just so that we can keep practicing. Now remember, for today's math homework assignment, you're not going to be multiplying. You're only going to practice cross-simplifying. So the first step is to circle the first pair of opposite numerators and denominators. Boom. Then step 2, you identify a common factor. Is there a common factor that they both have in common? Step 3 is crossing them out. You have to cross them out in order for you not to get confused. Step 4 is to repeat the whole process and do the other opposite side. And then step 5 is to rewrite. And then step 6 would be to solve, but that's tomorrow or the next day. So let's do another one. 3 over 7 times 1/3. I will do another example after this. So my first step is to circle one pair of opposite denominator and numerators. Here, I circled 7 and 1. 7 and 1 don't have a common factor, so I leave them alone, except for 1, but it makes no change. Then I look at the opposite numerator and denominator. 3 and 3 actually do have a common denominator, or not common denominator, a common factor, and it's 3. So I cross them out. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then step number 5 is to rewrite. So now I have 1 over 7 times 1 over 1. And I'm done. Let me do another one for you. Let's do 7 over 8 times 2 over 5. So step 1 is to circle the first pair of opposite numerators and denominators. In this case, it doesn't matter where I begin, so I'm going to begin with 2 and 8. I'm going to ask myself, do 2 and 8 have a common factor that I can divide both by? And the answer is yes. 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Am I done? No, because I have to repeat. I circle the next opposite pair of opposite numerators and denominators. 7 and 5 don't have a common factor, so I just leave it alone and I rewrite as 7 over 4 times 1 over 5. Let me do one more and then we will stop here. Blah, 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 body, blah, blah, blah. 3 over 4. Last one. 3 over 4 times 7 over 8. Again, first step, circle the opposite numerators and denominators. 4 and 7 don't have a common factor except 1, but I don't care about 1 because it makes no change. So I leave it alone. Then I look at the second pair of opposite numerators and denominators, 3 and 8. 3 and 8 share no common factor except what? 1. So basically, I leave it alone. It's 3/4 times 7 over 8, and I'm done. So for today, all you're doing is going to practice how to cross simplify. That's it. You're not going to multiply nor solve. You're only going to practice how to cross simplify. Okay, remember the steps. Step 1, you circle a pair of opposite numerator and denominators. It doesn't matter where you begin. After you circle, you think, okay, well, is there a common factor that they both have in common? If they do, you cross out. Boom, boom. After you cross out, you write the new number next to it, and then you repeat, circle the next pair of numbers, then you find a common factor, then you divide, then you write the new number, and at the end you rewrite. If you need more practice, please re-watch the video because this is very important because it will help you do less work.